the abomination of the Jujutsu world, a blood-soaked stain on almost every era of sorcerer history. The monster known as Kenjaku, whose original identity is still unknown at this point, has been using merely his brain as a vessel to skip from time period to time period, body to body, all to achieve his ultimate goal of witnessing the peak of Jujutsu. Since the very beginning of his proper introduction to the story, it has heavily been debated if Kenjaku fits the bill for the role of final antagonist, especially when such a perfect candidate fills the role in Sukuna's character, who at this point is currently waging war with all of Jujutsu High. Why? Besides the fact that the merging of every innocent civilian of Japan with a monstrous cursed entity is probably not a good thing, should we concern ourselves with a dang brain as opposed to the literal king of curses? Does Kenjaku only exist to push the plot along while Sukuna and his discourse with Itadori take center stage? Is Fumihiko Takaba, local GOAT, coming to avenge Gojo's death enough to dismantle this brain that has long overstayed its welcome? I want to dissect everything we know about Kenjaku, from his origins, his abilities, power level, and ultimately discuss a lot of things that are commonly missed about his character. At the end of this video, we'll know if Kenjaku deserves to sit on the levels of anime villain mastermind with the other greats. Without wasting any more time, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, don't forget about the second channel if you want more content as well, and most importantly, thank you for watching. We can trace Kenjaku's origins as far back as the Heian era, due to his connection to both Ryomen Sukuna and Orame. But to be honest, it's possible Kenjaku existed even before that. Little is known about the birth of Jujutsu sorcery, but the one confirmed entity at the center of it is the Star, otherwise known as Lord Tengen themselves. Tengen was known to preach Jujutsu sorcery throughout the nation of Japan, causing the construction of numerous religious cults surrounding the Star Plasma Vessel and sorcery as a whole. Kenjaku supposedly having a close relationship with Tengen at some point, enough to even refer to the Star as a friend, could predate even the Heian era, but it's much more likely the Heian era is the start of everything. Tengen's reign is more feasible after the unwanted cursed child, Ryomen Sukuna, has passed on, allowing Tengen the freedom to erect their curse-suppressing barriers and construct the Tomb of the Star, a dominion Tengen maintained total control over that also acted as an amplifier to local Jujutsu sorcerers for their powers to better exercise spirits and raise the protective shields over important locations, such as the technical schools that were meant to develop higher power sorcerers. Regardless of how their friendship started or even ended, as Tengen's will shaped the nation and sorcery in general, the Star became fully secluded. In Kenjaku's words, locking themselves away as a shut-in and depriving Tengen of the true experiences of living. As for Kenjaku, over the 1,000 years since the two last met, he has seen everything the world has to offer, witnessing regimes rise and fall, societies be built and crumble. Kenjaku has lived amongst the people and even reached noble heights and political power to wield it for himself. He watched new developments in sorcery and war in real time, experimenting tirelessly to spur even greater results out of that chaos and disorder, dragging countless people into his messes, whether innocent or guilty, all to achieve what he himself deems as the impossible. Throughout all of this strife, Kenjaku truly came to understand Jujutsu, both the natural elements of cursed energy as well as the deepest and darkest undersides that sorcery has to offer. The abyss of curses, too much for one lifetime to entail, of course. But thanks to Kenjaku's own curse technique, similar to his friend Tengen, he was unfazed by the passage of time. While Tengen, however humanely they wanted to phrase it, required a new vessel every 500 years or so, and completely converted it into their own liking. Kenjaku's own method of immortality wasn't as efficient, due to the stolen vessel only surviving its normal human lifespan, but it did carry with it its own interesting side effects. In exchange for the shortened depreciation of time on the body, Kenjaku would gain all of that person's knowledge and ability. Most importantly, that included their curse technique. By removing his own brain in some unknown procedure or ritual, Kenjaku can insert his mind into the cranium of another sorcerer, and by overpowering the soul of the body, Kenjaku is able to completely become that person. Able to mimic their personality and mannerisms so well, he sometimes even catches himself acting like the person without intending to or realizing it. After 1,000 years of body hopping, Kenjaku has gained immense knowledge and power, constantly raising his cursed energy stock and power level by absorbing and living the lives of the bodies he stole, ultimately becoming the superior special grade level warrior Kenjaku is today, with a constant air of looking down on all around him, going on intense, passionate monologues of his goals and aspirations, even in some cases while mid-battle. Through years of dominance and always getting what he wants, Kenjaku has become a very self-absorbed and jaded person. This personality is required of someone that literally steals corpses. Although the knowledge and experience Kenjaku has gained throughout the numerous identities he's assumed across the millennia is forever, the only downside to his immortality stems from the flaw of human nature itself. The human brain can only hold about 3 to 4 curse techniques before it becomes a mess of functions and simply falls apart, meaning there's a limited number of abilities Kenjaku can stockpile before he has to start leaving them behind in the switch. This requires him to strategize what perks better benefit him in the long run, as even with potentially 4 slots to fill, his brain hopping technique will always take up one of them. Again, Kenjaku has only grown and further developed his confidence from this though, as after having to repeat the cycle of learning new abilities and toss them aside for new ones, not only has Kenjaku gained an understanding of Jujutsu that exceeds potentially even Ryomen Sukuna, but this makes him that much better at adapting to situations in battle. Kenjaku has had to use so many different fighting styles. He can easily break down and predict how most opponents are going to attack him before they can even think of the tactic themselves. This not only explains why he so easily holds conversation mid-fight, but why, after gaining idle transfiguration from absorbing Mahito, Kenjaku can use the ability flawlessly in seconds without any training or instruction. With all of this forbidden information, Kenjaku was even able to construct the method of sealing oneself into a cursed object to transcend time and live a second life after death, something even Sukuna was unable to figure out. Sukuna being forced to ally himself and enter a binding vow with Kenjaku in order to get the brain to reveal such coveted information. Putting all of his brain power aside, pun intended, let's focus on how strong Kenjaku actually is as a whole. Because as we see from Toji Zenin's summon into Ogami's grandson, the power of a person's body, which potentially, depending on your outlook, is eternally tied to or one and the same as the soul, can completely override another's if one strength is that much higher than the other. This is also seen when the Culling game players return to life in their vessels, the ancient sorcerer's higher potential almost always suppressing the consciousness of whoever they reincarnated inside of. As stated by Kenjaku himself, if he tried to take over a vessel like Toji, that's not a chance he's willing to take. But when considering Kenjaku has stolen bodies throughout history, no problem, including a special grade sorcerer like Suguru Geto, Kenjaku's soul must be exceptionally powerful. When suddenly choked out by the remnants of Geto after being called upon by Gojo and Shibuya, Kenjaku can't help but laugh at the odd situation, saying this has literally never happened in the 1,000 years he's been body hopping. This could, 1, mean Geto is merely the strongest vessel he has ever inhabited, considering we have known Kenjaku to take over low-level sorcerers before in the past, whether out of necessity or political reasons, or Kenjaku's cursed energy is simply indomitable, the evidence of which need only be seen by his feat of stealing a freshly emptied out no curse spirit holding Suguru Geto and being able to readily build a second army of curse spirits in less than 3/4 of a year gear, some would argue much larger and more powerful than Geto's original Knight of 100 Demon Parade's platoon. Although the exact number of curses is unknown as of now, Kenjaku has enough spirits to completely run Shibuya and Shinjuku into uninhabitable hunting zones, while also filling the colonies of the Culling game with plenty to make them dangerous for players and incoming soldiers alike. The special grade curses that Kenjaku also has at his disposal not only add to his power level, but unlike the fraud allegations of the 10 Shadows and Sukuna, Kenjaku has had to personally best each and every one of these spirits to tame them. The smallpox deity, the East Asian curse that resembles Ganesha, the power levels of which all exceed the average grade 1 sorcerer, a domain expansion that results in instant death in 3 seconds, and a curse technique that quote-unquote removes all obstacles from its path. I don't need to glaze curse spirit manipulation, right? I think we're all in agreement the access to multiple different abilities and strong forces of nature like that is pure astoundment. But Kenjaku, almost acting as an enhancement to Suguru Geto's original form, is able to further increase the strength of the curse technique with his own immense cursed energy stock, empowering even low-level grade curses with intense boosts in stats, allowing them to combat even grade 1 level fighters like Death Painting Choso and do significant damage to him. The curse technique Kenjaku sought Geto out for, already capable of crumbling entire nations on its own accord, in Kenjaku's hands has only become even deadlier and more devastating to combat, being able to easily remove Culling game players like Hazanoki Iori or push high-level sorcerers like Meimei by merely summoning these curses. But when you combine them with Kenjaku's efficient close-quarters combat and effort, the abomination is even able to defeat other special grades like Yuki Sakuma. But this is also in part to other curse techniques that Kenjaku has decided to carry over from previous vessels. Not only was Kenjaku shown to retain the resistance against blood manipulation's poison thanks to his previous inhabitants of Noritoshi Kamo, the Omen head of the Kamo clan, using the curse technique of one of his more recent incarnations, Kaori Itadori, Yuji's late mother, Kenjaku touted the ability to control even gravity itself. The original version of the technique was actually anti-gravity, which Kenjaku was able to use to shield himself from Yuki Sakumo's black hole. However, the true effects of the ability are unknown. With Kenjaku's understanding of the cursed realm and negative/positive energy, the brain chooses instead to make use of the reversal aspect of the technique, actually being able to intensify the gravity around him, forcing any and all physical objects in the surrounding range to crash to the ground under the crippling weight. This can be used defensively to immediately dismantle any attacks that enter Kenjaku's range, but it can also be used offensively to cause severe damage to anyone unlucky to be caught under its overwhelming pressure, devastating enough to mangle a durable special grade like Yuki Sakumo when Kenjaku unleashed its full capability, being touted by Tengen themselves as the second best barrier user only to them. It's no surprise that Kenjaku's domain expansion would ultimately also be insanely powerful. Womb profusion, or depending on your translation, all-enveloping Garbadatu, is the fullest realization of Kenjaku's will and self, sprouting a humongous tree held up by numerous statues and monuments dedicated to the maddening abyss of dark sorcery Kenjaku has devoted himself to. Kenjaku's sense of self was so powerful, not only did he assume a special grade like Yuki Sakumo might not have been able to match him in a domain tug of war, it tore apart at Yuki's simple domain as if it was a paper-thin layer of defense. Kenjaku is also the only other person besides Sukuna that is able to paint their domain expansion's innate technique onto the air itself, casting his own innermost power into the world with no need to enclose it within a barrier, despite breaking simple domain, and being too efficiently created for even Tengen to dismantle. Kenjaku's ultimate ability within the domain expansion remains unknown, he chooses to obliterate Yuki with the full strength of his anti-gravity reversal, the domain simply extending his range outside of his normal grasp. It's unclear if Kenjaku used this out of mere convenience. However, it only further proves Kenjaku's sense of superiority against a special grade level fighter, not even feeling the need to go all out, and instead focusing on keeping his cards hidden and secrets close. In fact, Kenjaku's performance in the Tomb of the Star is an impeccable display of dominance over the current Jujutsu era, and even the philosophy of his old friend Tengen. In combination of the different techniques in his arsenal, on top of the massive physical stats that he has, Kenjaku bested a death painting, a special grade sorcerer, and the cornerstone of the current Jujutsu world in one fell swoop, displaying insane feats of speed, fast enough to react to piercing blood and dodge it, strong enough to deal massive damage to that durable foe Choso, and also showing even better durability feats by surviving multiple critical hits from the Wrath of the Star. Kenjaku's ability with reverse curse technique is exceptional, able to heal detached limbs without any strain on his cursed energy reserves. And all of these well-rounded capabilities are tied together by the brain behind the entire operation. Again, pun intended, as Kenjaku's battle IQ and plain intelligence, after thousands of years of what he defines as truly living, are higher than honestly any other character in the series, shown by his wash and dismantling of Tengen and Yuki's plans, especially his unpredictable fighting style, using mini Uzumakis to land the finishing blow on Yuki, who in her eyes was about to take home the win. The abomination of the Jujutsu world, 1,000 years of darkness, all culminating together into one mastermind, confident on achieving his ultimate goal of plunging the entire world into chaos, after manipulating countless odds and ends, not through fear, but through charm, cunning, and personality mirroring. The Disaster Curse faction, hundreds of sorcerers and cursed spirits across time, all the way to even the world governments of the modern era. Kenjaku's grasp surrounds everything Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole encompasses, to the point even this great antagonist Sukuna and the matching protagonist Itadori Yuji are all here because of the string pulling Kenjaku has been doing. From the background, he is the shadow, pressing his ideals and darkness on others throughout all of time, tricking the players into a second life just to dispose of them all as fodder, plunging a woman into consistent despair with repeated pregnancies of failed experiments, ruining the Itadori family to accomplish his final goal. This story was essentially crafted by design for Kenjaku to realize his dreams. And if you ask me, that's a deed more deserving for the final villain than any. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. Comment below if you have any thoughts or disagreements, and subscribe if you like this content and you want to see more. Check out an end screen video if you want to continue your binge, and subscribe to my second channel for mostly daily uploads of extra no-op content. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.